Tamima, and this is a Real Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Tonight, we get candid on the issue that is pregnancy loss and miscarriage. My guests will be sharing their stories on how they've been able to overcome this, hoping that we're going to empower somebody out there on how to deal with this issue. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Did you know that almost 10 to 25 of all clinically recognized pregnancies will end in miscarriage? That is why tonight we are raising awareness on this important issue that a lot of women across the country and a lot of families across the country are dealing with. Okay, my first guest is Beth Limbo. Beth is 40 years old and she has dealt with pregnancy loss and miscarriages not once, but several times in her life. Welcome to the show, Beth.
Thank you.
You're a very strong woman.
Thank you, by the grace of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me your story, Beth, because I know for you pregnancy has not always been, you know, that smooth road that it is for some women.
Yeah.
You have 2 children.
Yes.
But unfortunately, you've also lost other children.
Sure. My name's Beth Limbo. I love the Lord as my personal savior. So I urge for men to be real men and support their wives when they are in such a mess. And
I think Patrick is with us in studio. Hi, Patrick. Hi. Mr. Luimbo, the man who has supported his wife. Makofi kwake. Wow. You're very humbled.
I'm humbled to have such a loving man and somebody will be there for you when you're crying. He has given me a shoulder to cry on. That's a real man.
Okay, Beth. So I know you have your oldest child is 12 years old.
Yes.
And then you have a younger one, how old?
3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
So maybe walk us through, what has that journey of motherhood been like for you?
So 2005, I decided to get married and settle.
To Patrick?
Yes, to Patrick Limbo. And I'm so honored that on 10th December, we celebrated just our 13th year in marriage.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, but obviously, as with all marriages, you have faced challenges.
Sure.
So maybe when it comes to now parenting for the both of you, what are some of those challenges that you have experienced?
There are so many challenges in marriage. There are those, you know, about infidelity. Some people will speak ill about you, financial crisis. There's so many things, challenges in marriage. But the big one is when you want to get a baby and you're not able. And so we had said before we enter into marriage that when God blesses us with 2 children, we'll adopt the 3rd one. And it happened. Favor Joy is our adopted daughter.
Okay, so we know that your story is a painful one because between now your firstborn child and by the time you came to the adoption, you had several pregnancies in between.
Yes.
Maybe just walk us through that.
Okay, after my firstborn, Vic Nielta, I conceived after 2 years. And when it was 8 months, it did not happen the same as the first one. You know, the way you shower and you go to the mirror and you see like your face is swollen, and then I started feeling headache, and my husband was on leave then. So I told him, honey, I'm not feeling, things are not normal. Can you take me for a checkup? I just went for the nearest to the nearest clinic. So when they took the blood pressure, they said it was too high. And then they said, no, I need to be given they gave me medication to put it down. And then after that, they said, you need to be admitted. They said, now, Beth, because your blood pressure is not coming down, you need to be admitted. And then we induce you for labor so that you may deliver, so that we don't want your blood pressure to affect the baby. That is 8 months. So it not happen as usual. Do you imagine the baby died in my stomach? It was so devastating and so, you know.
So you had a miscarriage at 8 months?
Stillbirth.
Stillbirth at 8 months.
But yes, 8 months, that's what happened. I had pain, my body was swollen. I had turned to be black because of the pain, and I labored the whole night, and now the baby has died because I was induced. So it was so devastating and so traumatized, you know, something that, and the baby was a baby girl. And this baby has died in the womb, so they had to take me to the theater and do the...
So you went through a cesarean section.
I'm telling you.
And unlike most women in that situation, for you going in, you knew that your child had died. So you're already dealing with that. They had not told you at that point?
No.
Was your family, anyone in your family aware?
Yes.
Your husband was aware?
My husband was there and my sister. He was there to encourage me and to tell me, honey, God loves us, God is there. Imagine that's the word he's been telling me all through.
So that was now your first painful loss when it came to the pregnancy.
Yes.
And then you got pregnant a while after that as well?
After that, after 2 years is when we said we'll conceive. So after 2 years, I went back. And this time, it was a baby boy. The one I lost, it was a baby girl. I was so happy. Now I'm getting another boy in the family. So it happened the same case. As in blood pressure in pregnancy is called preeclampsia. So I was told, this round you have to be very careful. And you know the advice people are telling you, Beth, you went to very local hospital. Can you get a nice gynecologist? Can you go to a better hospital? You know, those things, neighbors are coming and your friends.
So you're dealing with a lot. Emotionally, there's the fear
telling
you've lost a pregnancy previously. There's a societal pressure as well on you.
Yeah.
So with this now third pregnancy, you were able to carry it all the way till 7 months?
Yes.
Then what happened?
The 7th month, it happened the same thing. I started feeling just funny, but I took precaution because this time I was doing the blood pressure like 3 times. So when I went for the checkup, they said it was too high again, so I needed to be admitted. So my husband he's been there for me. When I call, I just have phone call. I call, honey, are you fine? When I tell him to come, imagine he used to just find a way.
He'll drop everything and find his way to
and come for me. So I called him and he was there. He took me to hospital. And then I was admitted. And they managed to remove the baby. He was alive this time. They said the legs had not yet developed. So they said they need to put him in the incubator for the lungs to develop. But he succumbed after 2 hours. That was the worst moment of our lives. So I went to the doctor. I was admitted, and it was not easy to cope. When I came home, it was very traumatizing because people were like, what happened? You know those questions. Everybody's like, others are just calling, Beth, again, what went wrong? What did you do to God? Those people you can ask questions. When somebody...
People are very insensitive.
Sure. And you don't need to repeat the same thing. I normally tell people it's good when you go to visit somebody, you let them lead you on if they're willing to talk. If they're crying, you know, sometimes me, I used to cry a lot, but I've overcome that. I give my story with joy because the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Okay, so then after that, so that was your third pregnancy?
Yes.
You unfortunately lost a baby.
Yeah.
And obviously you're a woman of faith because after some time, again, you agreed as a family to expand your family and you're pregnant again.
Yeah. I conceived. I'm one person who will never give up. By the grace of God, I normally say it's never over until God says it's over. So I conceived again after 2 years, and I conceived, believe you what, I conceived twins this time.
So during this time, were you conceiving naturally? Were you going through other treatments, or for you the conception bit was never the issue?
conception is never an issue.
So the issue was now during the pregnancy because you had the condition preeclampsia.
Yes.
And ordinarily, twin pregnancy is actually a high-risk pregnancy.
I'm telling you.
Even for a woman who doesn't have any pre-existing conditions. So there you are. You're aware that you have preeclampsia. You're pregnant with twins. What's running through your mind? Because I can imagine you must have been, a part of you must have been terrified.
Sure. It was, okay, when I went to the doctor and they did the scan and they said, I have twins. Do you know, I cried tears of joy because of, and also I had fear with me now. If it happened, because they said the condition, preeclampsia, because I have researched why it happens to me, because the other one, I didn't have any issue. And then the doctors said that it's a foreign, placenta is a foreign substance that comes in the body. Maybe the gynecologist, the doctor can expand on that. So they said this time it will be, the doctor just warned me, Beth, this time we need a God who is able, because it will be double tragedy, as in if
it was a high risk.
It was a high risk.
And now it's not just one child, but two children.
Yes.
So even he understood the risk not just to your physical health, but also to your emotional health.
Sure. The blood pressure started very early, at 28 weeks. That was very early, and now I was put on medication, a lot of magnesium, a lot of those blood pressure drugs, but mild, because you can't get the high blood pressure medication when you are pregnant, so because they can affect your baby. So they give you they're those mild one for expectant mothers. I was called in a panel, you know those big hospitals, what can happen, you are there and the panels of doctors, they are coming and they are telling you, Beth, we need to terminate the pregnancy because we don't see you going far with it because of this condition.
So now
I was given 1% to live.
To your life?
Yes.
That's why now they are recommending for you to terminate the pregnancy?
Yes. We said because of our faith, our belief, we cannot allow that.
So then what happened?
They told us, no, you can't just stay in this hospital because you've just refused the doctor's report. And then my husband was that strong, and he said, can you discharge us from this hospital? We'll just seek for somebody else with the same faith, a doctor with the same faith. So
basically the hospital did not want to accept liability for anything that would happen afterwards.
Yes.
Because they had given their medical diagnosis and recommendation of the same. So then what happened? You left the hospital?
Yes, we left the hospital, but I called a friend of mine who had the same issue. The friend of mine referred to me to her doctor. And then we called, my husband called the doctor, and then they advised that we don't go home, we just come to their clinic, because we shared to him the condition. So I was transferred to another hospital. So I was admitted, and they managed to control the blood pressure to normal by the grace of God. But what happened before I left that hospital, I reacted to a medication called magnesium sulfate. That is I think it's the medication that they give to people who have very high blood pressure. So that's when they said I have 1% to live. That's why they came to that conclusion that they need to terminate this, because it was, I experienced fits, I experienced, I was going.
It was affecting your health as the mother now.
So much.
So outside of the pregnancy now, you were getting other health complications.
Yes. It's good for doctors to look at the file of somebody and the history. Because what happened in the former hospital, they had written in my file that I should not be given magnesium sulfate. And that's what I was given in the other hospital.
So it was a medical error?
Yeah. It affected my babies. Do you know, I don't know where labor came from. And you know, these babies are premature, 28 weeks, I expelled the babies.
So how were you able to pick yourself up afterwards?
I think it's because of prayers through my spiritual mentors. I thank God because of my pastor, Pastor Vincent Kimbonyi, and the wife, Pastor Penina, and also my family. They have stood with me. They prayed for us, and my friends.
So how many pregnancies in total have you lost?
I've lost these 6 babies.
6 in total. So 5 pregnancies, 6 babies. And so to date, are you still going to keep trying? Is it something you've discussed
Next
as a
year
family?
I'll give birth.
And maybe let me just... So I want to invite Beth's husband, Patrick, into the conversation. So Patrick, having gone through that many pregnancy losses, 6 children, counting in total, and listening to your wife and the faith that she has, and she's very confident that next year she's going to give it another go, where do you guys get that resolve as a family? Because I'm sure there are people who are watching this, and probably for them it's very different.
What I would say immediately is what ties a family together is a love for each other, and if you trust and believe in a God that can keep you in all times, that also plays a big role. Okay, so to the men out there, let's stick to our vows that we made them, okay, and things will work out well. Because once you trust in God and you stand with your partner, whatever comes their way, let it be part of you, and things work out well.
I also want to rope in Dr. Shege Mwangi, who is in studio with us. He is a gyna obstetrician. So as an OBGYN, having listened to this couple's story, what would be your medical inference from the same?
Thank you. I think Beth, she was given the right diagnosis, which is a high blood pressure that comes or is associated with pregnancy. And scientists are still trying to look for the exact cause. Though what is known is if the pregnancy, the mother gets separated from the baby, either normal delivery or induction, that condition should go down. Like in her case, you see, in between the pregnancies, she was normal. When she gets pregnant around 20-something weeks, the pressure starts coming up. And I've listened to her, and the condition she has gone through is actually just what we know. The complications, because it can affect, give premature labor. Sometimes it even affects kidneys. You find people getting into renal failure, going to ICU. It's a complex situation. And like she said, for us as the clinicians, when we see the patient, let's treat the patient as a whole. It's not only the diagnosis we are dealing with. We are dealing with somebody who has come from a family. Something is expected from her. She's carrying a baby, she's bringing life, and all emotions that go with that. So if we don't handle her well, even her psychological stress will increase, and we get more complications. You've
actually experienced some issues with your kidney.
Yes. Okay, when I went for the scan, they said the baby had died in my womb, and it was 20 weeks. This one, it came very early. So they said, because the baby was small, they don't want to give me another scar because I've had 3 scars. So they said they'll induce me, and then I just expel the baby. Do you know the placenta refused to come out because they said because I was stitched so many times. So another mistake, they didn't have the forceps to pull the placenta. So they struggled to pull with the hands and something they were tying. What were they tying? They were tying strings to pull the placenta. So I bled, my blood went to level 4. So I was transfused 6 units of blood, and it was not easy. My kidneys were affected, and as we talk, I have kidney failure. My kidneys failed last year. I do dialysis twice. Although the doctor said that maybe the blood pressure that has, I don't know, he can answer the question.
Maybe
Whether it was the blood loss, because another doctor told me because of the blood loss is the one that caused the condition that I am in.
Maybe Dr. Chegia, and
Yes.
I'm sure for you might need a bit more detail, but
Yes.
if you had to just make a commentary
Yeah,
on
I've
that.
had her comments, and it's true, either of them can cause that. Acute blood loss, very heavy blood loss can still affect the kidneys and they can fail. The pressures, if they had been there for a long time, they can still cause the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, on that note, we'll be taking a very quick break. When we come back, still more to come here on Real Talk. Don't go too far. Welcome back to Real Talk. Remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima. Tonight, we are raising awareness over the devastating issue that is pregnancy loss and miscarriage. Earlier on, Beth shared her story with us. Right now, I want to introduce my next guest. I have with me Priska Muthere, who is 33 years old. She has suffered through 2 pregnancy losses, and also Patricia Tieno, 25 years old, who has also undergone the same. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
So Priska, you have lost 2 pregnancies. Maybe tell us about your experience with that.
I lost it at the age of around 24 years old, and it was painful for me. I started experiencing a lot of pain at the lower. So it took a while, then it's like 3 days. We took a step, went to the nearby clinic. We were given some medications, and the pain succumbed for a while. Then when the pregnancy was almost like 4 months, now the pain was serious. Then this time around, I also went to another different clinic. I didn't want to go back there. So when I went there, first I explained to the nurse that I'm pregnant this month and all that kind of stuff. Then from there, she gave me some medication, and but before she had released me to go, she told me to go for a better medication. So from there, we went to St. Mary's. When we went there, the case was so complicated, because I remember at arrival when we were received by the nurses, I gave them the cannot that I was given from the clinic the previous day. I could see the way they are communicating, the nurses are communicating, so I sensed there is something that is not good. So they wrote for me a note, and they gave me just 1 tablet, like a small tablet. And they told me that from there, I'm supposed to go to Kenyatta immediately. So I felt like I should not go before they have told me why. I approached the nurse, inquired why all these engines and all that kind of stuff. So the girl told me that your pregnancy is in a danger state. So, but I persisted. They should tell me. Kanambia hapana, we enda tu, lakini usishtuke. That is what she told me. When I persisted, akaniambia is kind of niko na pressure. Now this one scared me even more. So I called my hubby. Wherever he was, he could not be allowed to come out. So I was with my friend. Instead of going to Kenyatta, we took a cab in the house. So that night I didn't go to the hospital. But now the following day, early in the morning, overnight, I could experience a lot of pain. Now the following day, in the morning, I started bleeding so heavily. I could not stand that. Now this time around, the hubby came overnight. That early morning, he took me to Kenyatta. They gave us some medication, but now the pregnancy could not be held. Within like some hours, I had a heavy bleeding, a heavy one. So at some point, I rushed to the toilet, to the washroom, and I felt like something heavy. Now, when I went back, I explained whatever had taken place. And the doctor told me that hatuwezi kusaidia, hiyo yenye unasikia umefeel kitoka ikiwa heavy, hiyo ndiye mtu mwenye tungekusaidia.
At that point, was your husband supportive?
Okay, yeah, in a way he was supportive. Before we went to hospital, we had some issues in the family. And because even after I miscarried, one of the doctors sat us down to talk with us, and I could see that my hubby wanted to hide some things, but I had to open up because I'm the one who felt the pain, like inaniiti sana. So at some point it was kind of, I lost the pregnancy because of stress.
Because this was all happening when you were very young, 20 years?
Yeah. So after that, okay, that took place like a month of November. Like 5 months later, I also got pregnant again. Now, my second born. This time round, I was very much scared because it all started from the second month of pregnancy. I had pain, dizziness, and all that kind of stuff. But thank God that the second one I didn't miscarry. I managed, but it was a bit challenging. The second miscarrying took place after like 2 years when I had gotten now the second born. This one was so serious because I had pains almost like from the first month. So before we took like the third month, it had started bleeding. So when I went to the hospital, they gave me some medicine. They restricted me from some duties. Don't do this, all that kind of stuff. But it didn't make it.
So again, same thing, your blood pressure, stress levels as well.
Yeah.
So you told our producers that your relationship was a huge contributor to the stress levels when you were pregnant.
Yeah.
So at the point, your husband was violent and...
Exactly.
So you were dealing with all that amid now having a very delicate pregnancy.
Yeah.
So are you still with him today?
No.
So you separated?
Yes.
Okay. And we know that today you are mother to 2 beautiful children?
Yes. Very, very nice.
How old are they?
Okay, my firstborn is 13 years. Next year is a candidate. My secondborn is 9 years. Next year is in class 5.
Okay, I want to invite Patricia. So Patricia, you're 25 years old. So you have a very similar story to hers as well, whereby you have lost 2 pregnancies as well. And at some point, the diagnosis you were given is that you have a weak uterus?
Yeah, okay. I got married at the age of 20. I was so young, but it had to happen because I got married before joining college. So 2 years down the line after the marriage, I got pregnant. That was, I was in my second year. I had to defer because my hubby was like, oh, you should not do all that stuff when you're having the baby. So I was just at home. I was okay. I never did anything that could harm us. Yeah. So there's this night when it was around 4 months, I started experiencing some kind of crammings. I thought it was normal because previously I'd had some at 1, 2 months, it was okay. So when I consulted my doc, he told me like it's so normal for first timers.
The cramping?
Yeah, the cramping. It was not intense at first, but that night it was kind of too much. So I called him. I told him like, Dr. Kamau, what is it? Like I feel the cramps are intense today. And then he was like, maybe take some painkillers, it will calm down. Maybe you overstressed yourself, or maybe you did something that was heavy for your pregnancy. Around 1 a.m. in the morning, I was just, okay, let me go and release myself. When I came back, I realized like I was spotting. I called him again, he never picked. So I was like, oh, maybe it will just go away. around 5 in the morning, it became so much. Now, okay, it was like coming out with clots. I had to go to the hospital. I went. And that's how I lost it. I wanted to know the reason why.
You wanted to understand why it happened?
I just wanted to understand why it happened. Because, okay, if it is heavy duties, I was never doing any. Stress, because maybe school I had left. So the doctor told me it is normal for the first timers. So after 2 years, after my graduation and everything, I decided to try again. This time it came. After 2 months, the same thing happened.
And to date, you still don't understand why?
Yeah, they told me like my womb is weak. So I don't know whether there is a cure or something.
Okay. Let me invite Dr. Shege into this discussion. So sitting here, she's sitting here asking, I need to understand why did it happen? So even with earlier on when we are listening to Beth's story, preeclampsia, you say that the medical fraternity is still trying to find out what is the specific reason. Why is it that some women are affected by high blood pressure when they are pregnant, when others are not? So even with her case, when she's asking, why?
We do some investigations. Because there are various, like in the stress, if there's stress at home, that can cause violence and that's trauma. Infections, we also need to rule out. So we usually do investigations, look at the infections, look if there are any other factors to do with the body the way it is. So some blood, we take blood, we do investigation. So it's difficult to just look at someone and say this is the exact cause, unless one goes through those investigations. So for her, so like we said initially, when somebody, she's still asking why, even up to today. That is, and whenever she went to the hospital, people forgot, and there she exists as a file. But this is a person whose life has to go and has to remember all those things that went through. So to give an answer, exact answer is difficult unless we do those investigations.
So have you sought any specialized medical help since then? Maybe seen an OBGYN just to consult with them?
Okay. After the second loss, I was like, I looked for a gyna and explained my situation. He told me like, unless I recover the other file, is when he can be able to rule out whatever is happening. And when I went back to that hospital, the file was missing. So I don't know what is happening, you know.
So you can't even make up a proper follow-up.
Yeah,
So that if you want to get pregnant again, at least now, whoever will be handling your pregnancy is making decisions from a place of information.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalkWithTamima. Tonight's topic, we are talking about the heartbreaking loss that is pregnancy loss and miscarriage. Tweet me as well. Let me know what your views are on this topic. If you have any questions on the same, we'll take your questions on the show. Right now, we'll take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real Talk. We continue with tonight's conversation. My next guests are Mavis Olesi, who's 21 years old, and Betty Wamaitha, who's 22 years old. They have both dealt with the issue that we are discussing tonight. Maybe let me start with you, Betty. So tell us about the experience you had.
I'm Betty Wamaitha, as she has said. I was a virgin when I first got pregnant at 21. That was last year. I got pregnant with this guy. I thought he loved me, but he didn't love me. I used to believe in abstinence till when I was mocked by my friends. I don't know anything about sex. So I just had to explore. I didn't use protection. I slept with this guy and I got pregnant. I didn't know I got pregnant till I started sporting. I tested whether I was pregnant and I was pregnant. So I was so afraid to tell my mom, my parents, that I was pregnant. My mom is very tough, and I was so afraid. So I was so stressed.
And the guy, when you told him you're pregnant, did he?
Okay, first he didn't react, he didn't say anything. But later on, when I was fearing to tell my parents, I moved out of my mom's house to go and live with the guy, because he's the father of the kid. So he wanted me to terminate the pregnancy.
So he told you to get an abortion?
Yes, but I didn't want to do an abortion. I wanted to keep the baby. So I decided to go back home because I saw this guy. He doesn't have a future with me. He was just using me. So I went back home. I didn't tell my mom I was pregnant till she saw my bum.
How far along were you by then?
I think it was around 4 months or 5, yeah. So she started advising me on the methods on how I'm going to go to
So the prenatal checkups?
Yeah.
Because at that point you hadn't gone for any?
Yeah.
You were just carrying the pregnancy?
Yes.
Stressing around, my mother doesn't know about it, I wouldn't want her to find out about it.
Yeah.
Dealing with the stress of your boyfriend.
Yeah. So my mom took me to hospital. Then we started the clinics. So it was on a Saturday when I started. I was doing the house chores. So I took a stool. I climbed because I was washing the windows of our house. So it's somewhere like it's higher. So I climbed the stool. I was barefooted and I was washing the window with detergents. So the stool wasn't rough. It doesn't have vernier. It has vernier that slides. So I slipped my one leg, then I fell down. I hit my stomach on the floor. Then I just screamed. My sister was cooking. It was during the day. Yeah. She was cooking lunch. She came. She asked me what's wrong. I didn't even talk because I didn't know what was happening. So she took me to hospital because my mom wasn't there and my dad wasn't there. It was only me and my sister. So we went to hospital, and then after that, I don't know what happened. I just woke up and I had an empty stomach. I wasn't happy because I wanted the kid. Maybe the guy was happy when I lost the kid. Yeah.
But for you, it was a loss?
Yeah, it was a loss.
Because you had wanted to keep that child.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that loss?
My sister talked to me because she's elder than me. My mom talked to me, and in our family, we don't believe in abortion. So I just wanted to keep the baby.
Maybe your story is slightly similar to hers in that you got pregnant again at a young age in school with a boyfriend.
Yeah, after my Form 4, I got engaged with a boy. Then later on, I got pregnant. That was at 18. So because of that fear of telling the parent, I decided to move in with the guy. So the guy was nice at the first times when I was there. So after 2 months, he changed. Like he was not the same guy I knew. He stopped coming home. He might go for like 2 weeks or a week without coming back. And when he comes back, when I ask him where he was, he gets violent. So he hits me. So because I did not want my parents to know what I'm going through, even they did not know where I was because I ran away. So this thing went on for long. So when I was 6 months pregnant, he also hit me, and this time hit me on my tummy. So I felt the pain, but it ceased away. So the next day, as I was in the kitchen, I felt a sharp pain in my tummy. Then I started bleeding. So I was alone in the house. After beating me, he left. so I was alone. I called my friend. She came and took me to the hospital. On reaching the hospital, I found out it was late.
Just take your time, breathe in, Mama, breathe in, your mind.
So on reaching the hospital, when I was taken to the emergency room, when doctor came to administer to me, he told me that it was late. The baby was gone.
So if I had to ask you, Mavis, how long ago was this?
3 years ago, because I was 18 years old.
2 years ago, okay.
Yeah.
So I want to introduce Wanjiru Kihusa, who is the founder of Still a Mom Kenya, and her organization supports women and families dealing with miscarriages, stillbirths, and infant loss. Wanjiru, welcome to the show. So obviously you can see that for Mavis that the pain is still very fresh, and not saying that all the other moms who have been here are not in pain, because everyone deals with pain differently. And that's why your organization exists. Maybe just tell us a bit more about your organization and how can someone like Mavis perhaps benefit from it?
First of all, allow me just to say thank you so much for the show, but also for everybody who's shared their story. People do not appreciate how big it is just to tell your story out loud, and it's a very important thing, and I really want to just to applaud everybody who's shared their story. A lot of people cannot even do it out of camera, leave alone on camera, so I just want to say thank you. Child loss is a very complex thing, and here I say child loss, I mean miscarriages, stillbirth, infant death. That is the loss of a child, at least that's what is defined in Kenya, of somebody who is less than 5 years old. It's a very complex thing. It comes with a lot of things, and we handle tragedy or any traumatic experience differently, like you mentioned. So for her, first of all, 3 years is actually really fresh. I really get upset when people wonder, why haven't you moved on? It's been a year, it's been 2 years, it's been 3 years. And I keep telling people, you have to imagine that a child loss is like losing a grown-up. The same things you wouldn't tell me if I lost my mom, you would not tell me if I have lost a child. So we need to give people space to grieve and to heal. Now, a lot of complexities come in when, let's say, when you're younger, when there's violence, when a relationship went bad. There are people handling breakup, and then they have to handle a loss. There are people who handle marriage separation, and then they have to handle a loss. So we cannot come with a blanket and say child loss grief takes 2 years. For each and every person. No, that's not true. And I remember this happened to me when I lost my first child. When you wake up from that anesthesia and you have no child anymore, you're not pregnant anymore, there's that immediate numbness. You're literally numb, and so that's the first phase. And then literally next phase is you get angry. You're upset at the doctors, you're upset at your partner, maybe he was late, maybe he said, babe, tulale, tutaenda hospitali kesho. You're angry about a lot of situations, and you feel like if this was fixed, this would not have happened. Then we get into that stage of bargaining, like you feel like, God, if only if only we'd gone there an hour earlier, if only we'd done this, if only I had not cleaned. We tried to go back and see what could have done, what could have happened differently. And then there's a
what
phase.
she's saying making a sense?
Yeah.
You've been through those stages?
Yeah. And then you get to this place where now you're depressed. It's an extreme sadness. I can't even begin to describe. Like literally small things like showering become hard. Like conversations with people are extremely exhausting. And here is where I call for friends to be patient. You cannot be upset because somebody is not picking your phone because they are grieving. Yeah? You need to give people space and room. But at the same time, this depression stage, if it stays too long, you will literally can get into medical depression, which is now a mental condition. Yeah? So this is where we need you to fight for your friends. Keep calling. Whether we're answering your calls, keep calling. Come by, make sure we shower, get us out of the house, take us for a movie, take us, you know us. So do things that will get us out of this space we are in.
So
and then finally,
talking to them, trying to breathe life back into them.
Exactly. Yeah. And do not by any chance ever belittle loss. Do not ever make it sound like, you're young, you're going to get other children. They might actually do get other children, but they will never be the child that was lost. You cannot ask them what is taking so long for you to move on, The same way when we break an arm, I mean, it takes a long time to heal. The same way mental health is equally important, and we need to give it enough time. We don't just snap out of things. These things are traumatic experiences. The same way we handle rape victims, the same way we handle grief victims. So then we get to this stage of acceptance, and I'd like to clarify, acceptance is not to say we are good. We are never gonna be good, yeah? In my house, I have a son, but he's my third born. I have lost 2 children. It's a scar that stays with you, you know. For the longest time, every time I see somebody who's old, the same age as my daughter would have been, it's a constant reminder. But acceptance here, we talk about just sitting in that space and realizing this happened to me, and I'm making peace with it. And that takes a really long time. And grief is also not chronological. We don't move from denial, anger, in a nice, neat line. After this, it has to be. Sometimes there are days I wake up and I'm really just upset. I'm very angry. Or I'll bump into a kid in the street and asks me, uko na watoto wangapi? And it's a constantly reminder, you know. So even if we have gotten to acceptance, it doesn't mean we are good, we are never gonna cry, you're not gonna see our emotions. No. We just get acceptance, is that realization that we accept what happened to us. It was out of our control, we make peace with it. So generally that is kind of what happens to us when we are grieving the loss of a baby, regardless of whatever age that is, because to be honest, the ideal situation is that we should always die before our children. You know, that's the ideal situation. But unfortunately, that does not always work that way.
Maybe let me rope in Dr. Shege, because I think we've had different experiences of pregnancy loss, and probably you can just, for the layman, just clarify it for us. At what point is it pregnancy loss? At what point is it a miscarriage? At what point is it a stillbirth? Because there are different terms depending on the stage you're at in your pregnancy.
Thank you for that. As with every pregnancy, okay, the terms are different, but at the end of the day, it is a pregnancy that has been lost. So for us, when we say it's a miscarriage, is pregnancy that is lost before, the one we call abortion in the books is before 28 weeks in Kenya. But in other countries, they say before 24 weeks. So that one is termed as an abortion. But now after that, if there is death before birth, before the baby is born, that is what we call a stillbirth. So, and there are various causes like we said. Sometimes even if investigation is done, sometimes we are not able to really get the actual cause. But there are many things there are risk factors that have been known. Stress, like we say, we have seen from the family, psychological, social. We have sometimes infections, like we said. Occasionally, we may also get twins. Sometimes they don't get up to the way we say the due date, 40 weeks. Sometimes they are born much earlier. And now those other diseases like diabetes, hypertension, all those can also lead to the same thing. So those are the terms we use. But now for the social side, we want to use miscarriage, because the word abortion has
there's two contexts when you say abortion. So I think for a lot of the women who came on, they were very categorical. Either my faith doesn't allow me, I don't believe in terminating a pregnancy out of choice.
So we use miscarriage, and it can happen spontaneously without anything. If somebody looks, the lady looks for a reason, is not able to get a reason, maybe was just seated, starts getting feeling pain, and the pregnancy comes out. When you come to the hospital, occasionally we are able to reduce those contractions or even stop them, and one is able to carry on with the pregnancy.
Okay, so maybe as we wind up very quickly, I'll just go back and find Beth. You've gone through so many losses, but you still have your faith. So if you had to talk to somebody at home and just give them one golden piece of advice, what would it be? And also probably as Beth is thinking on that, just to rope in 10, because you deal a lot with families who are going through this. And I really believe that Beth and Patrick are unique because their marriage has withstood this test. But we know there are so many other relationships that perhaps are not equipped to go through this. So as a counselor and someone who deals with families who go through this on a day-to-day basis, what advice would you give?
Allow me to be a tad controversial here. I'd like to say that people should really just stick together, because relationships are difficult, conflict is there, hardships are there. This is what we meant for when we said for better, for worse. I would get offended every time somebody told me, oh, you must have a very nice husband. He has stuck with you for so long, even with all these child loss cases. And every time I asked, where was he supposed to go? You know, because I think we set the bar a little bit too low. We allow people to leave when things get hard.
It's how we are cultured.
Yes, it's how we are cultured.
In our culture, it is the woman's burden. It
yes,
is not
it's
the man's
wrong.
burden.
It's extremely wrong because, like, nobody actually ever answered me. Like, honestly, where was he supposed to go? You know, isn't this part of the package? Nobody grows up thinking, you know what, I will get pregnant and I will lose that baby. You know, nobody asks for this. Yeah, it's the same way everyone has their journey. Some people, you know, get children and unfortunately maybe are financially strained. Everybody has a hardship in their marriage, you know, or in their relationship. It is not a license to live, you know. So it's. So even as we applaud people for staying, let us not over-glorify it, because they should stay, you know. They should stay throughout it, because then we make it sound like, oh my God, they're so special for staying. It's true. My husband is amazing. We've been through 2 child loss cases. We've been through block tubes. We've been through IVF that failed. We have been through it. But also, let us make it be the norm that when we go through hardships, we all stay. You know?
Not the exception.
Should not be the exception, you know. And then here also it's family, the extended family. Don't be those people who are constantly asking people, when are you guys getting pregnant? When is the baby? You know, or finding fault in that person's wife. Why can't she give you children? With that, again, we have an assumption that women have to give people children. It's a very high pressure situation. It's also, generally, that's a lot of expectation. We also assume that whenever people are not getting children, it must be the woman's fault. You know, there's a lot of pressure in people's families. And instead of us guys rallying around this family and supporting them, what we do is we go behind their back and we talk about them and we gossip them, and we, you know, even gets in the way of things like adoption. People adopt a baby, and then maybe even Beth could mention that. Like when you come home with an adopted baby, there are all these rumors in the estate, where did she get that baby? You know, generally we are a society that needs to stick together with people more often than separate people.
So more support.
More support, a lot more support. Death is a very, very heavy thing. Anybody who goes through the death of a child, the death of a sibling, the death of a parent, the death of a spouse, needs the entire society, literally, to come and rally around them and support them.
Okay. And finally, maybe to Beth, because Beth, you know that you're a very strong woman. Your hope is still alive. But outside of that, just to touch on what she said, because you chose abortion as a route, what advice would you give to couples?
What I want to tell parents is that you can be close friends to your children and you can stick together. When you face situations like what we have gone through, you can just be there for your partner and to stick to them and to help them. That is a traumatizing experience, let me tell you. If it was not for my husband being on my side, I could be dead and buried so many years ago. But because he stood with me, I'm courageous that I'm getting out and helping other ladies not to be depressed. There are those personal development institute, like Royal and Rich. When I was down, I was almost getting depressed. I listened to the Royal and Rich Personal Development Institute and my mentor, and I got hope. I also joined. It's called Naomi Ruth Women through the founder. He's called Pastor Emma. Pastor Emma has really helped so many women who were suicidal, and now they've gotten hope that they can. It doesn't matter whether your husband was there for you, whether you're raising your children alone, whether you were raped, whether you had a very bad boss, but you can collect yourself and know that you have value. If you know who you are, you're going to stand tall despite what will come on your way.
Absolutely, and that is really the reason that we do this show. hoping that through the lives and the experiences of others that we can teach you something, touch a life out there, help somebody deal with a situation that they are going through, and just to let you know that whatever it is, there is no problem too big and you're not alone. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, when you know better, you must do better. Well, that's it from me, Tamima. I want to thank my guests tonight for coming on the show, sharing their stories with us. As always, I hope we have touched somebody's life out there. Until next time, this has been Real Talk.
Hello viewers, a very warm welcome to today's show. I am your host, Flora Mwende.
Hi, good evening. My name is Juliet Obira, and today we are talking about problems women face when they...
Pregnancy loss?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, my name is Daniel, and I'm here to take you to my story where I had a miscarriage.